I'm just a counselor. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I listen and I provide feedback, attempting to guide clients towards some level of peace in their life. A recent client of mine has made this part of the job. Difficult, I found myself gravitating towards this field of work as someone who benefited from therapy as a teenager after my parents went through a very messy divorce. I just wanted to pass on the proverbial torch and make sure others were able to navigate their own insecurities and traumas. Despite the strangeness of my session with this new client, it started off routinely. He came in as a trauma survivor. He was electrocuted after crashing his vehicle into a power line, and his heart stopped at the scene. It's not entirely uncommon for victims of a near-death experience to attach spiritual or religious connotations to the event. But what this client told me is beyond anything I've heard before. I ask all of my clients for their consent to record sessions as a way to better understand them. I listen back to them before I am scheduled to see them again, compare my notes, and come up with topics for us to discuss. This particular client is scheduled for tomorrow, and I was feeling a bit apprehensive before listening back to the recording. I skipped through the beginning of the recording, normal pleasantries and introductions. I'd asked him all the usual icebreakers to get to know him before I allowed him to start the conversation on his terms. Okay, I could almost feel his breath on the back of my neck as he sighed. This might sound a little weird. I know the afterlife isn't what we think it is, but there is an afterlife, I asked, probing him to explain. You can probably tell I haven't led the best of lives. I mean, look how I got here. Smashed my car into a pole because I got hammered at 2 cots in the afternoon. At this, he averted his gaze, looking down at the floor. He took a moment before telling me, I had figured that I probably belonged in hell, but that's just it. I didn't really go anywhere. No hell, nothing. So, what did you experience? I asked, feeling my professionality slip a bit as my fascination grew. It's not so much what I experienced, it's that I have an understanding that I didn't before. He again turned his gaze to the floor and remained silent for a moment. I leaned forward in my chair. Near-death experiences like yours can be life-altering, I offered, an inflection point that separates life into a before and after for victims. I'm not a victim, he said, cutting me off. I noticed a gruffness to his voice that I hadn't clocked before. I wasn't punished, he said. Making direct eye contact, he continued, I was given a gift. No one saved me. Whoever it was that dragged me away from the power line ran off when I came to. Whoever helped him ended up calling the paramedics after they couldn't find a pulse. I remember I must have scared that first guy pretty bad, judging by the sounds he was making as he took off. He chuckled. You seem to be taking this in stride, I said, giving him an approving smile. What do you think has helped you to move forward so quickly? I was hoping to elicit a sort of introspection in him so I could encourage any of his positive behaviors. As I was listening, the recording became a bit staticky. This was odd as I never moved my recorder during sessions. It almost sounded as if someone had picked it up and was messing with the microphone. I decided to check my notes just in case, but had only observed that the client appeared agitated or nervous and was bouncing his leg. People can live with pain, torment. Humanity is capable of many things, but its ability to adapt is what made it so successful. And you've adapted, I asked. I noticed now that my voice had become garbled in the playback, like a radio station that the antenna can't quite pick up. There are folks whose bodies are only there to hold up their heads, he said, his voice cutting quite clearly through the static. A sack of meat that only provides fuel for the brain that sits inside, locked in. They can't speak, can't move, but are still capable of thinking and creating, still able to live. That could have been me, he concluded, but it wasn't. Your gift? I asked. The static almost completely drowned out my response. I found this annoying and tapped the recorder against my palm. I even tried reconnecting my earbuds, but that did nothing to quell the crackling. My gift, he said with a smirk. Again, his voice came through cleanly, the static fading as if waiting, only returning when he had finished his sentence. I couldn't hear what I said to him over the static, so I looked to my notes for guidance. They indicated that I had noticed a shift in his demeanor and that I asked him to return to his initial subject. I wanted him to explore how his new understanding of the afterlife informed his ability to move forward and adapt. My usually me's.